Peace, y'all. Welcome back to Divine Insights. My name is Jamacia, and on this channel, I give divine insights on the fly from the Most High God. All hosts to encourage you on your walk and get closer to the Most High. And y'all, today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today, I'm going to share my testimony of how I came to Christ because I was not brought up as a Christian. Okay, so before we get into it, if you could please like and subscribe to my channel and turn the notification bell so you can stay up with me on all the new divine insights that I drop. Okay, so let's talk. So, I came to Christ about, how long I've been in LA? I've been in Cali about 4 years, and I really became a Christian 3 years ago. The first year I came, I was really getting my feet wet. I was just starting to get to know the Lord for real, right? So let's talk about it. So when I was brought up, we wasn't brought up atheist or nothing like that. Don't get me wrong. But I personally, my own personal testimony, not nobody else in my household, I didn't know the Lord. Okay, I never got baptized as a child. I got baptized when I became a Christian as an adult, which was in the last 3 years. We didn't go to church like that. We were like one of those families that only went to church on holidays, like Easter. What other holiday? I'm just like being honest. Like occasionally we would go to church here and there. I actually grew up in a military household, so that might have had something to do with it because we moved around. Like 15 years of my life was just moving every 2 years. I've been to 13 different schools, so life was kind of hard for me. I will not lie to you, and I do remember before I actually got into any type of spirituality, I do remember like calling on God. I never called on Jesus because I just honestly didn't believe in Jesus growing up. I didn't believe in Jesus. I didn't even believe in the Bible. I didn't really understand the things of, I remember one time I was like, how did somebody say that let there be light and there could be light, and they believe that somebody's going to come out of the sky? Like I thought very logical as a child. I didn't think spiritual at all. I had a very carnal mind growing up. So if you told me something that didn't sound like it made sense, I didn't believe it. And I didn't grow up around spiritual things. I didn't grow up in church. So I really didn't believe it. But I remember this one time I called out to God because, I was getting bullied at school and I thought I was going to get jumped. I was going to get jumped, but I guess because the night before I told God, I was like, well, God, I pray, can you help me? Because I'm going to have to go to school and fight both of these girls. That's what I had said in my mind because, I used to get teased so bad for being dark skinned. And I remember in my class, they used to throw things at me. It was just like, pick on her. But they didn't know that I was a fighter because I had just came to a new school. I hadn't been in a fight. I had already been there for 2 years. So, nobody really thought that I would even say anything because I wasn't an arguer either. I didn't speak up for myself. I was very, very meek. When I think back on it, I was meek and docile. So they thought, because I wasn't a rah-rah type of person. And I remember I just went home and I prayed to God because I told him, I said, I'm gonna need your help because I'm gonna have to just do this because I was like, I can't continue getting picked on. And when I tell you, I promise to God, God had to help me beat that girl. I beat her so bad. I beat her down so bad. And this is not to condone violence, but I will tell you that if you are ever in danger and you feel like your back is up against the wall and there's absolutely nothing that you can do, you pray to God and he will strengthen you in your weakness because I promise you. Let's talk about how I knew that was God. Before I even get into my whole story of becoming an adult, this girl, to this day, she came back and she became my friend. I swear to God, the first day back, she came back and she was nice to me. And ever since then, she's been nothing but kind to me. Ever since then, because I genuinely I didn't do anything. It was nothing that you could really say, oh, she was taught, like they could never say, oh, she was talking about me. She was laughing at me. It was truly just a bullying situation. And when I fought her, I beat her. And it was really by the grace of God. And she came back being cool. It was like, I don't know if it was a spiritual transfer of humility, but something happened, and that was the Lord. So I could say, that was one instance when I could really say I called on the name of God, just God, and, I was helped, right? So fast forward, going forward, when I got into my 20s, so I would say up until that point, of 2021, 22, I would talk about God, right? I didn't know nothing about Jesus. I didn't know nothing about the Bible. So I was really just one of those people who just lived how they wanted to live and just prayed to God when they wanted something. That was me. I was completely like that. And there's a lot of people that are like that right now that are in the faith. They're completely lukewarm. They just say God, but they like, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to live in fornication. I'm going to smoke this weed. I'm going to get drunk every week and I'm going to go out and twerk. You know, that was me. That was my life completely. I'm going to dress provocative. That was me 100%. And, you know, I didn't feel much conviction. I'm not going to lie. I always felt conviction when I had sex. I will not lie. It could not shake. No matter how many times I did it, it was like I would have to force myself to be comfortable having sex with people. It was wild. And I say that because I'm being honest. And I know that it's some women on the other side of this that knows what I'm talking about. Like, you're really not comfortable in these sexual situations. It's like your flesh wants it, but your spirit hates it. Your spirit is denying it. Your spirit reeks in disgust by the act of it. Okay, you have to fight your way to do it. And that was me. And, you know, as I gotten older and I became to get a relationship with the Lord and I realized my purpose and my calling, I realized why I was never comfortable with having sex with somebody that I was not married to. I was not even committed to, right? So that's a whole nother story for another day, because I do believe in waiting for your person. I don't care if you used to be loose as a goose back in the day. You can still start over and get it right now with somebody else and honor the Lord with your body and get married, right? So fast forward, when I turned about 20 to 21, I start really like waking up, you know, and it came from a big separation between people that I was with. Oh, I remember what really happened was I cried out to God because I had went through a really, really bad depression when I was 21. I was so depressed because me and my mom didn't have a good relationship. And I was with this guy that I had been back and forth with since high school. And he would always leave me to be with girls that he thought was prettier. And I was always there when he came back like a little fool, you know what I'm saying? But I loved him, quote unquote. When really it was just a soul tie. It was just a sexual tie. It was an attention tie. It was a childhood trauma bond. Okay. So I remember when I got tired of that for a second, right? Because I did go back. But when I got tired of that for a second, I got tired of the friends that I was hanging out with because they just had me living a not godly lifestyle. And I wasn't even thinking necessarily about godly, but I was changing so much with the people that I was around and I wasn't happy. I went through a really dark depression. And I remember crying out to God and I asked God, what is my purpose? Like, God, what is my purpose? You know, I remember reading articles online. I was just trying to figure out, what am I meant to do? Right. And I remember that he gave me a piece. He gave me a gem. I worked at a jeweler. I ran a jewelry shop from the age of like 19 to 21, 22. I can't remember what I quit. But I know I worked there for 3 years and I ran his shop. Right. And I would have so much time in the jewelry shop. He made gold teeth, an Indian man. That one day I was on YouTube and I saw a do-it-yourself video for wire jewelry. So I just started making jewelry at work, right? And before you know it, people started asking me about the jewelry. They liked the jewelry. They wanted to wear the jewelry. So I'm like, they asking to buy the jewelry up off of me, and I wasn't even selling it. I was just wearing it for myself, right? So then I finally decided after about 6 months, okay, I'm gonna start selling it, right? So I started selling it and people actually were all wearing the jewelry. That was the number one thing for me. I was like, wow, they're not just buying it to support me. They like it, you know? So I became a jeweler and I'm still a jeweler to this day. That was like, this is my 8th year being a jeweler. So that's about 7-8 years ago. So that was a part of my getting closer to God. God gave me a piece of myself, you know, and I figured it out. I saw that it was working. So I was like, wow, you know, so I'm telling you, when I prayed that prayer, I cried out to God. I needed to know something about myself. I needed it because I was so depressed. I was such in a dark space. I was tired of working for these people. So he gave me that. And I was actually able to financially free myself within 1 year. I've been self-employed since I've been 21. 21 or 22. It's one of the two. Since 2017, however old I was that year. I was been self-employed. I quit that year after a year of making my own jewelry. God blessed me to quit. And that really brought me closer to God, right? But before I quit, I started like really having all of these abilities. Like I started having abilities. For a second I thought I was psychic. You know, I didn't know nothing about church. So I didn't know that you could be prophetic. I only knew about what they show you on TV. I grew up watching Charmed and all these little witch movies because I was always fascinated by supernatural things, even though I didn't really believe in it, right? Just I watched it for entertainment. And I remember I started having all these gifts that just started birthing in me. And the truth is, I feel like the gifts were dormant because I was living in sin. I was hanging around the wrong people. I was smoking and drinking all the time. It's like, it wasn't until I stepped away from that lifestyle and I had time to myself, because I would sit in this shop all day by myself and just customers would come in and out, but I spent majority of the time by myself. And I started realizing like, it's something going on with me. Like, how did I know that that was going to happen? Or how did I already know what that person was talking about? Or how did I feel that? Or it was just like crazy. So I absolutely did not know who to talk to. So I remember I went to a psychic. I went to a tarot reader. I remember I kept driving home and I just was like, you know, I'm really losing it. Like, I know I'm not crazy, but I don't know who to talk to. I know my family, my grandmother and them is in the church, but I never knew about the Holy Spirit. So I never knew that you could be prophetic. I never read the Bible. So I didn't know that your dreams could come true, because I remember I had one dream and the dream manifested word for word in my real life, right? And I was like, whoa, like I've already seen this, right? It was just things like that was happening. And I was just like, you know, I was scared. I was confused. So I went to a tarot reader, and I remember that she spoke to me. And a lot of things she said really did not come true, right? But it was just the fact that she knew some things about me and my work life and my upbringing that I didn't tell her. So I was just floored. I was like, oh my gosh, like this has to be who I am, or this has to be the path that I need to go, because how did she know this, right? Oh, so crazy, right? But you know, I had to live and learn, because she really had a demon on her, obviously, and I just was just naive, young and naive. So fast forward, that led me down the path of going into African spirituality and being a Pan-Africanist, you know. And you know, over there they can't stand Jesus. They like, oh, you like that white Jesus? They enslaved us with our ancestors. I really truly believe that. I believe that this was the God that our ancestors were given during slavery. You know, all these lies, when the truth is that people have been believing in Jesus well before slavery. Christianity started in Ethiopia way back when, right? So I went down the wrong path. And when I tell you, when I went down that path, it was so much darkness. And then the crazy thing is, it was so much darkness and so much light present, because the Lord was always present. I remember that before I went down that path, I had started feeling like Jesus was calling me. But I had already been watching things on YouTube, people who don't like Jesus, you know. So I started thinking, well, you know, that's not my faith. That's not my religion. That's not where I should go. Only because of what people who I had begun to watch and people that I could relate to at 20 and 21. I was like, no, I'm a Pan-Africanist. This is where I belong. I belong up here with my people, you know. So I just really went down the wrong path. And I remember that before I really got deep into the wrong path, that I started going to the flea market, and I was just gravitating to books, because I used to like to read. I would just gravitate to books. And then when I would pick the books up, I would realize that they were a Christian book, right? I still took them home and I was just starting to read it, right? And I remember I had started doing these studies with the fruits of the spirit, you know, and it just went to a split, because I chose to go in the opposite direction. And it was so hard, but Jesus was always there, right? He was always there. And, you know, it was so dark over there, and I couldn't be my real self. I didn't know who I was as a child. I still had a problem with speaking up when I saw things that were wrong. You know, I just I lacked confidence and courage, right? So, you know, that was just like really hellish, pretty much. So when I turned about 25, I stayed in that lifestyle. I would say I got in that lifestyle. I remember my friend came. Because even after I had went to do the... Oh, child, my bad. But even after I had went to do the reading, I didn't get into witchcraft. I guess, you know, to somebody looking in, they're like, well, that was your initiation, because it probably was, right? I remember I still didn't get into it for myself. I had a friend that came to my job one time, and I was 23, about to turn 24, and she had brought some little cards, and she was playing with them with me, and I just remember looking at her like, girl, what is you doing? Like, you over here lying, manipulating these cards to make them say what you want them to say. I remember thinking that in my head. But, you know, all these seeds were being planted in me, and nothing was uprooting it out. You know, I didn't have nobody in my life to say no, even though, like, no, she's planting a seed. Like, you need to uproot that. You need to reject those teachings, right? So, fast forward, I went down the wrong path for a couple of years, and I got into the relationship. And, you know, I got a clip that's kind of going around about how you're not supposed to be together. And I was with this guy. We moved to California together, you know, because God had called me to move to LA. You know, I had somewhat of a relationship with God, but I didn't have a relationship with Jesus Christ. So I thought, right? So God had called me to move to LA. In my spirit, I could just feel like the Lord, God is calling me to move, right? So I was like, okay. And I felt that he was calling me to move to LA based off of how many people was coming to my table telling me about how good LA was, right? So I took a trip to visit, and on my trip out here to visit, I met the guy. We ended up coming back, moving to Oakland together, and God tells me that this is not where he called me, that I need to move. So fast forward, I was in that relationship staying with him for about 6-7 months, and I told him, I said, look, I gotta leave because God is telling me that I cannot be here, and I gotta choose God over you. Straight up, that's exactly what I did. That's exactly why I did it. So I left, and I moved to LA by myself. And ever since then, I've been on fire with the Lord. Okay, he has been purging me. Listen, he been purging me like nobody's business. And I just been so grateful because as soon as I moved here, it was like me and the Lord's relationship got so much stronger. He started talking to me, and he was so patient with me. Like, it started with me just reading one scripture every now and then. I used to watch a lot of sermons, and then like when he realized, I feel like, you know, when he knows that you're ready for more, he'll give you more. And then like my great grandmother passed away, and like when I came back, I felt like the Lord was telling me, I want you to start praying more times a day and read your Bible morning and night. So I started reading my Bible morning and night, and I've been doing that for about 3 years now, 2 to 3 years now. And you know, I just changed. You know, before my 27th birthday, I got baptized, and I just been on fire with the Lord, and I love it here. And you know, coming with the Lord, he has really brought me out of the darkness. It's like a relationship to where you won't be in the dark if you really surrender yourself to the Lord. If you really listen, if you really pay attention, if you really follow through, if you really pray, it's absolutely nothing that could really trick you or manipulate you. Not saying they won't try to trick you, not saying they won't try to manipulate you, but you will always know the truth because God does not like his children to be in the dark. He doesn't. He knows everything, right? So I just wanted to share my testimony. You know, I love God. He has called me into ministry, and that's what I'm doing here today. And, you know, I don't know. I'm like, I guess y'all deserve to know something about me. I'm happy with this. You know, I won't say it's an easy walk, but I honestly know that it's no other walk for me. So, hey, here I am. So I pray that y'all like my testimony. I pray maybe you found something in it that you relate to. Maybe it helped you. I don't know. I just wanted to come on here and share. So I just say peace and blessings to y'all. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to y'all again next time on Divine Insights. Peace.